Imagine making $75,000 a year, sending your child to private school, and still needing to rely on food stamps to get by. Sounds almost impossible, right? Yet that's exactly the shocking reality shared by a caller on The Ramsey Show. Samantha, from Honolulu, stunned the hosts with her family's financial struggles despite earning a decent income. So, how is this possible? In today's video, we'll break down how even a seemingly good salary can leave a family feeling financially suffocated. Could $75,000 really be not enough in today's world, and what are the hard truths behind their situation? Stick with us to find out. Samantha and her husband live in Honolulu, earning about $75,000 a year, which sounds like a solid income, right? They're debt-free, following the Dave Ramsey baby steps plan and doing what they can to stay financially responsible. So, what's the problem? Despite all this, they still feel like they're sinking. Samantha explained, "Every month, we kind of are only living with about $600 left. It's hard to fathom how someone can struggle on a salary like that. But the reality is, high costs of living are draining their resources faster than they can keep up." Their current living situation isn't helping either. Samantha's family of 4 is cramped into a one-bedroom apartment, making things even harder. With a take-home pay of about $5,500 a month, it's no surprise that every dollar feels stretched thin. The situation may sound unbelievable, but for many families in expensive areas like Hawaii, this kind of financial strain is becoming all too common. So, how did they get to this point? And why is earning a decent income still not enough to make ends meet? Let's dive into their budget and see where it's all going. So, where is all the money going? With a monthly take-home pay of $5,500, it seems like Samantha should have some breathing room. But when you break it down, the reality is far different. Their biggest expenses are eating up most of their income, leaving them with almost nothing to work with. First, $1,500 goes toward rent for their small one-bedroom apartment. That's a huge chunk of their monthly income, and it doesn't leave much room for other essentials. But that's just the beginning. They're also paying $100 a month for private school for their child. Why private school? Because their daughter doesn't qualify for public kindergarten due to her age, and the public options in Hawaii are extremely limited. Without private school, their only other option would be to hire a babysitter, another costly alternative. And then there's childcare. They're paying $900 for babysitting just so they can manage their schedules. When you add all of this up, it's clear how tight their financial situation is. With all of these expenses, they're only left with $600 at the end of the month, a number that doesn't leave much room for savings or unexpected costs. Despite earning $75,000, their high living costs and essential expenses are outpacing their income, forcing them to rely on food stamps to get by. So with so many essential costs eating into their income, where do they go from here? Let's look at how they could improve their situation. Here's where things get even more complicated. The decision to send their child to private school isn't just about preference, it's out of necessity. Samantha explained that their daughter doesn't qualify for public kindergarten due to her age, and the public school options in Hawaii are limited. Private school became their only viable option if they didn't want to leave their child with a babysitter full-time. This choice comes at a cost, a significant one. $100 a month for private school is a huge financial burden, especially when they're already living on a tight budget. But if they didn't send her to private school, they'd have to deal with the alternative of babysitting, which is another $900 a month. It's a tough situation where, no matter what, they're stuck between two very expensive choices. What's shocking is how these necessary costs are pushing them to rely on food stamps, even though they're both working, Samantha as a part-time flight attendant and her husband working full-time as a window installer. Their income simply isn't stretching far enough to cover these mandatory expenses. It raises an important question. Should they continue down this path, or are there some tough decisions that need to be made about what they truly prioritize? Let's explore the hosts' reactions and the tough advice they gave to Samantha. When Samantha shared her situation, George Camel was taken aback. He responded bluntly, "Wow, so you're on food stamps, but you got a kid in private school. That's pretty wild." It's a stark contrast. A family struggling financially, yet paying thousands for private education and childcare. George's reaction wasn't just about the shock of it all. It was a wake-up call for Samantha to reconsider her choices. The hosts didn't sugarcoat things. They quickly pointed out that difficult decisions need to be made. Rachel Cruz echoed this sentiment, urging Samantha to focus on increasing income and making strategic choices to lighten the financial burden. They stressed the point that without a significant income boost, they'd remain stuck in a cycle where each paycheck gets swallowed by basic living expenses and childcare. George also pointed out that they'll need to make some hard choices. "You're going to feel bad living in a one-bedroom apartment, living on food stamps," he said. His advice? Raise your income and prioritize what's most important. He even hinted at the need for a complete reevaluation of their current lifestyle, especially their decision to keep their child in private school. Tough decisions would be the key to changing their financial future. The question remains, is it time for Samantha and her family to sacrifice short-term comforts to secure a healthier financial future? Or will they find a way to balance their income and living costs? The host's blunt advice leaves a lot to think about. But what about their next steps? Let's dive into potential solutions and whether moving to a different state could make a difference. Samantha began to consider a drastic option, moving to Colorado, where they have some extended family. The idea was to cut living costs and hopefully find a more affordable lifestyle, but the hosts weren't convinced that moving would solve their problems. George Camel pointed out, Hawaii to Colorado is a pretty drastic change. Moving isn't a simple fix. It involves not just finding a new place to live, but also the cost of moving itself and the time it would take to adjust to a new environment. Moving to a different state may seem like the perfect solution, but it's not free. Relocation costs can add up quickly, and it might take time before they can find jobs and get settled. Additionally, while Colorado may offer lower living expenses in certain areas, it may not make a huge impact on their overall situation without the core issue being addressed, their income gap. As Rachel Cruz emphasized earlier, the real issue is their income, and unless they can boost that, moving could just add another layer of complexity without solving the underlying financial struggles. The hosts cautioned Samantha that while Colorado could offer some relief, it's not a magic fix. What's needed more than a change of scenery is a change in income, and quickly. Could Samantha's family find a way to increase their income, perhaps through new career opportunities or side jobs? Or would they be better off focusing on cutting costs more aggressively and finding ways to live within their current means? Let's see what adjustments they could make in the next steps of their journey. At the heart of this family's financial struggle is the income gap. Samantha and her husband are both working. She's a part-time flight attendant, and he works full-time installing windows and furniture. But with their current income and the overwhelming cost of living, it just isn't enough. As Rachel Cruz pointed out, if you're paying $2,000 for childcare full-time but you're only working part-time, is there some shift there just to save some money? It's a question many families in similar situations are asking. How do you make your income work in a high-cost area? Samantha's part-time job is keeping her home with the kids, but it also means their family is only getting a fraction of the full-time pay she could be earning. Meanwhile, her husband is stuck in a job that doesn't offer much room for growth because of his lack of certifications or trade licenses. He's been thinking about changing careers, but without those qualifications, it's been difficult to find better-paying opportunities. The core advice from the hosts was clear. Raise your income. Whether it's through getting full-time work, gaining new skills, or finding higher-paying job opportunities, increasing income is the key to creating financial breathing room. But can they make those shifts fast enough to solve their immediate problems? What kind of choices do they need to make to close the gap between their expenses and their income? Let's look at what changes Samantha and her husband might consider to start turning things around. Samantha's story is a powerful reminder of the financial struggles many families face, even when they're following good financial advice and making responsible choices. Despite earning $75,000 a year, living in a high-cost area like Hawaii, paying for private school, and covering childcare costs, Samantha and her family are still in a tight spot. The lesson here? Income is the crucial factor that needs to change. The advice from George Kamel and Rachel Cruz couldn't be clearer. To break free from this financial struggle, Samantha's family needs to raise their income and reconsider their expenses. Whether that means shifting careers, working more hours, or finding a different way to make money, the family's financial future depends on their ability to make these difficult changes. Relocating to Colorado or making drastic lifestyle changes might help, but the bigger issue is the income gap. Without addressing this core issue, no move or decision will make a lasting difference. Ultimately, Samantha and her family will have to make hard choices, prioritizing what's most important and cutting back where possible. Will they be able to close the income gap in time? Only time will tell. But what's clear is that increasing income is the key to unlocking a brighter financial future. So, what can we learn from Samantha's story? If you're feeling financially stuck, sometimes the hardest decision is realizing that raising income and making tough sacrifices is the way forward. How would you handle this situation? Would you make the same changes, or is there a better way to approach it? Let us know what you think in the comments.